Welcome to Local Decision 2024. I'm Eric Nelson. Thanks for tuning us in. And joining us now in studio is Julie Jeppson, running for Anoka County Commissioner, District 6. Julie, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Eric.
Yeah, a couple of years ago you were here exiting the Blaine City Council and trying to get on the county commissioner seat. That worked out. Now you're up again. Tell us about yourself, why you're running for this spot.
Julie Jeppson. I represent the majority of Blaine and all of Spring Lake Park. I've been thoroughly enjoying this new position that I've had now for the last a little over almost 2 years now. And I live in Blaine with my husband. We've been married for almost 26 years. We have 2 children. Ellie is 20 and in college, and Aaron is 16, going to Spring Lake Park High School, and is loving the basketball season coming up. So I've worked in the community. I've been involved in the community in both the schools and running a nonprofit for 10 years prior, leading up to my first term. And then just really getting involved in the community and seeing where the gaps in services and amenities are and how to improve those so that the city of Blaine and Spring Lake Park and all of Anoka County in its entirety is accessible to all.
So 2 years on the board, I'm sure there's a learning curve there. What have you been able to find out, and what do you hope to, parlay into even making things more successful and a better run in the next 4?
Well, what my sense was when I started running, and one of the biggest reasons why I ran was because I didn't feel that this district was being represented the way it should be. And so in learning all about the services, the budgeting, all those things, I realized that there were some significant gaps. One of the biggest gaps was Trunk Highway 65. So the big elephant in the room, that's what everybody's interested, what everybody wants to talk about. And leading up to being a commissioner, being previously on Blaine City Council, we really took an aggressive effort with a large number of agencies, including the City of Blaine, City of Spring Lake Park, Ham Lake, Anoka County, state level, federal level, and we raised over $200 million in 2 years. That is a significant feat that I don't know has ever happened before in the state of Minnesota. And it was from 14 different sources of funders. And so we were able to accomplish that. And I don't think if I would not have been in this position, I don't think that ever would have happened. So I really feel that that is a huge win for the city, the county, the region, the country, and the nation in the world for when we have USA Cup, we have the 3M Open, and numerous other events right down the road at the National Sports Center.
Yeah, and there's going to be more pain before we see the ultimate gain. But when Minnesota 65 is up and running, will it be almost like utopia for Blaine and the cities that are on the south end, Spring Lake Park, Ham Lake on the north side?
It is. It is going to incredibly and noticeably impact people's lives.
Yeah, for sure. Now, 65 isn't the only problem road in Anoka County. I know you're focused on improving infrastructure. What are some of the goals you have there?
Yeah. So my priority and the thing that I've embraced, the theme that I've embraced through my time on being a commissioner is traffic safety. I was appointed by the Association of Minnesota Counties to represent all 87 counties on the Advisory Council for Traffic Safety. It's a state program created by the legislature in 2023, and so that seat I am representing all the counties for all traffic safety and really working on that. I'm currently also on the Transportation Advisory Board with the Met Council, and so really working to focus on traffic safety where others within the urban core of the Twin Cities are so focused on transit and mobility and shared drivers and things like that, but we don't have that infrastructure up here. We have nothing up here except a hub at Northtown Mall. I mean, even our park and rides are still closed after COVID. So really being that strong voice at the table for making sure that safety is number one in people's mind when it comes to traffic. Because Our roads really haven't changed significantly. Highway 10 is just about done, and that is a significant improvement. But we have significant other systems within our region that have to be prioritized because our population has grown. The city of Blaine's population has grown 20% since the last census between 2010 and 2020, but our roads have not. And so just having that extreme increase in humans using the system, and the system hasn't increased with it, that's a problem. And we clearly see that through the accidents, the deadly and fatal car crashes. Again, one horrific tragedy just happened over the weekend.
Yeah. Do you look at other metro areas as a model for transportation? I bring that up because I was in Phoenix last week, and they've gone through that explosive growth like the Twin Cities. And I'm very impressed with their system. You know, the signage is, you can read it, the roads are great. I realize the weather's different, but that's a big part of it. But do you look at other areas and say, well, maybe we can do something that they're doing?
We absolutely do, absolutely, because we don't have all the answers. And we're humble enough to know we don't have all the answers. So rather than reinventing the wheel, we absolutely look at different parts of the country that don't have our same weather, but a lot more times parts of the country that do, and what works, and what works, what lessons learned from other parts of the country and other areas, and what has worked really well. What's going well at the county level now? What's going well at the county level now is we, for a number of years, so Anoka County has a medical examiner's office, all right? There's a level of requirement to have to do an autopsy on someone who has passed away. And we have had significant struggles with the Department of Veterans Affairs when there has been a veteran who has passed and requires an autopsy. We need to, before we can do anything, before the family can do anything in celebrating his or her life, we need to have a death certificate signed. All right? It's a simple piece of paper that has no risk, no liability to the physician signing the certificate, but the VA doctors are flat out refusing to sign any veteran's death certificate. And so if you can imagine not having that piece of paper for the family, it is taking 6 to 8 weeks for them to get that death certificate signed. That's 6 to 8 weeks of no access of financial accounts, 6 to 8 weeks of not being able to plan a funeral, 6 to 8 weeks of not getting their rightfully deserved veterans benefits, and it's a unnecessary burden. So what Anoka County has done, myself and a number of my colleagues, we have said, this is unacceptable. We have to support our own staff. We have to support the veterans in our country. And so on behalf of literally the country, we are taking on the Department of Veterans Affairs, working with our federal delegation, and Congressman Emmer got through a piece of legislation through the House about a month ago that has some language in there, an appropriation in there, that says that the VA needs to look into this. And so it's now at the U.S. Senate to pass. It's within the overall veterans bill. It's in the Senate's hands right now, should pass the Senate easily, and we're just waiting for President Biden to sign it.
So what's the major snag or hiccup here? This would seem like a slam dunk.
Right. The major snag is that we are the ones saying this is happening, so everyone thinks this is just happening with us. Okay. It's just a Minnesota problem. It's just an Anoka County problem. They're not seeing the overarching nationwide problem, which is what we're trying to prove. Also, the VA doesn't keep records of the death certificates they sign, the death certificates they don't sign. So the appropriation that we're asking for is for the VA to do a deep dive for the last 5 years and get that information so that we can prove that it's a nationwide problem.
All right, let's pivot to the budget. Priorities, I mean, money doesn't fall out of the sky.
Yep. So
how do you prioritize what you're going to spend money on?
The budget this year is going to be a really hard year. And I say the collective, we have only been on the board for 2 years, so a lot of this has happened prior to me. Mm-hmm. But you know, I'm here now, I'm taking responsibility for decisions made previously. But last year we brought every staff person union and non-union, up to a livable wage, up to a reasonable wage that is competitive. We were losing people left and right. We couldn't fill positions, and now that we've done that change, staffing is at an all-time high. People are happy where they're at, and it seems like they're going to stick around for Anoka County, and that's exactly what we wanted. As a result of that, however, it does add an extreme addition to our budget moving forward. So we have a significant gap in what revenue that needs to come in, property taxes that need to come in, and what we know are absolute expenses that we have to pay. Primarily those job wage increases. So working through that, making sure that staff are still taken care of. We know it's going to be a very challenging situation, but when you have deficit budgeting for the last 10 years, that has ramification. I mean, I hate this cliche, but you can only kick the can down the road for so long. And we're in the space and time where we can't kick that can anymore. We can't. And so the only major way that we get revenue is through property taxes. And so we're looking at a really hefty increase this year. But it's essential that we do that because of decisions made previously, and now we have to catch up. And so we have to catch up quickly, very quickly, so that in the next year or two, we can then be stable again.
Do you expect a lot of blowback on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and how do you convince the residents in Anoka County that the big picture, this is the right thing to do?
I think convince might be not the right word, because I think convincing someone takes manipulation, might be perceived as manipulative strategy, things like that. We just need to open the books and show folks, like, this is the deal. This is where we're at. This is unacceptable. This needs to change, and it's only for a little while, but we have to do what we have to do. We can't literally kick the can down the road anymore.
All right, you have been a voice for adaptive programs, kids who deal with disabilities. What can you do to even make this a more prominent issue and help these folks out?
Yeah, exactly, help these folks out. So that's a huge gap in services that I was made aware of pretty much a month after I was sworn in. So getting these groups of moms together, and I don't want to discount the role that dads play in their kiddos' lives, but it really is the moms as the caregivers seem to be the most passionate, the most outspoken, the most willing to share ideas and struggles. And so this group of wonderful women, our Parks Department, our libraries, the City of Blaine, the City of Spring Lake Park, has really revolutionized how these government agencies look at this issue and look at the residents who are really struggling with disability services. And so we've done a lot of programming. A lot of great things have happened. We're going to continue doing that. But one of the next big projects that we're working on is making the Anoka County website be a landing page for all adaptive programs, so that moms and dads don't have to search hundreds of different websites to just find a single simple program for their child. And the other part of that is too defining those programs, differing them between adaptive, inclusive, age appropriate, and really categorizing these activities that are out there. So that when parents sign their child or their family up for an activity, they can get reimbursement from the government when that activity has a fee assigned to it. So anything that is defined as adaptive, they can get their medical reimbursement for, and that's also a really big barrier that has been put in front of them in addition to just daily living.
Anything that you hope to really focus on if you're reelected?
Two things is the budget and looking at that long term and not just 1 year at a time. That doesn't function well with as big of a budget as it is. And the other thing is the jail. That is a really big need with a really big price tag. And so how to do it responsibly, again with taxpayer dollars, quickly for the safety of inmates and our staff, and really working and designing a jail that is good for how incarceration has changed over the years. A lot of drugs, a lot of mental health, a lot of, again, barriers for these individuals who really need the rehabilitation.
Yeah. And Anoka County borders a couple of the giants in Ramsey and Hennepin County. How does Anoka stack up?
In what way?
Just quality of life, and you're part of the metro.
Yep.
Do you feel like this is a go-to place?
I absolutely believe this is a go-to place. We're so close to the cities for all the sporting events and all the culture and arts and theaters and activities that the Hennepins and the Ramsey provide. But we also are that getaway. Yeah. We're also that slower quality of life, that better, slower pace. Yes, we all have our issues, but I've lived in 5 different states, and we moved to Blaine because my husband's family was here, and for a number of other reasons. But with the way the rest of the climate change and extreme weather conditions and safety and security with our police departments and our sheriff's department, this is by far the best place I've ever lived, and I don't see myself moving anytime soon.
Is it critical for the county to keep that balance of growth, but also it does have a little bit of an up north feel in parts of Anoka County? You don't want to lose that either, do you? Definitely
don't want to lose that either. People love their acreage, people love their serenity and their tranquility, and they love the parks, and they love the lakes and the nature centers, and that's essential that we keep that keep a lot of that available to our residents, while also making sure that we understand through the city, all the 21 cities and municipalities, their growth plan, because we have 2 watershed districts. We have the Anoka County Conservation District, and so really then also digging deep into our aquifers and our drinkable water and our groundwater is another huge key component that we have to stay on top of.
All right, and before we go, I'll give you the floor. Why should somebody vote for you?
I will continue doing what I'm doing. I'm fully immersed in the work. I selflessly listen to people. I'm a great listener. If there's an issue, I will act upon it. It may not be the best solution. It may not be your solution, but it will be a solution. Everything is figure-outable, right? And so I think I'm approachable, and we can work through making sure that every individual, whether they live, work, or play in this county, comes here, has a great experience, and always wants to come back.
Julie, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, Julie Jeppson, Anoka County Commissioner, District 6, up for re-election. This has been Local Decision 2024 here on North Metro TV.